The Galactic Council Chamber was built to watch disasters from a safe distance. It floated between stars, wrapped in light and silence, filled with beings who believed they had seen every kind of war. When the alert sounded, no one rushed. No one shouted. The message scrolling across the central display seemed ordinary at first. A hostile fleet had changed course. Its direction pointed toward a small blue world on the edge of mapped space. Earth. Several council members sighed. A few looked away. Earth was young by galactic standards. Loud, curious, reckless. Humanity had joined. Interstellar talks only a few decades earlier, still learning protocols, still asking too many questions. Many species believed humans survived only because no one had bothered to test them. The fleet was large, ancient, known for breaking worlds to send warnings. The Council had watched it destroy 3 systems in the past century. Each time, the victims had begged. Each time, the Council had debated. Each time, they had arrived too late. A tall avian counselor tilted his head and spoke calmly. Earth will fall fast. We should prepare a memorial statement. Others agreed. The chamber returned to quiet discussion. No emergency vote was called. Far away, on Earth, Jiho stared at his screen and frowned. He worked the night shift at an orbital traffic station above the Pacific. His job was simple. Track ships. Guide them safely. Flag strange data. Most nights were boring. Tonight was not. Several deep space markers had gone dark at once. Not failed. Not drifting. Gone. The data ended too cleanly. Jiho leaned closer. He checked for system errors. None. Solar interference. None. He felt a small chill. He opened the private channel. Era, are you awake? Era had been awake for hours. She stood in a quiet observatory in the mountains, watching star charts update in slow waves of light. As an astrophysicist, she trusted patterns. Right now, the patterns felt wrong. Yes, she replied. I see it too. They shared data without speaking much. The shapes formed by the missing signals told a clear story. Something large was moving. Something careful. Era swallowed and sent a secure message to the Planetary Defense Network. She did not use dramatic words. She did not need to. The data spoke for itself. Within minutes, systems that had slept for years began to wake. Deep beneath cities, lights turned on in empty rooms. Old servers hummed. Doors sealed that no civilian knew existed. Around the planet, satellites adjusted their orbits by tiny amounts, so small that no news agency noticed. On the surface, life continued. Cars moved. Trains ran. People slept. The difference was that every human system now listened. In the council chamber, a new image appeared. The hostile fleet had crossed another boundary line. They were moving faster. A council analyst cleared her throat. Earth has not responded to our warning. Another replied with mild surprise. Perhaps they have not received it yet. The analyst hesitated. Or perhaps they already know. The chamber grew quieter. Back on Earth, Era left the observatory and walked outside. The night air was cold. Stars filled the sky. Somewhere out there, something was coming to end her world. She did not feel panic. She felt focus. Her tablet chimed. A single line appeared from a restricted channel. Stage. 1 confirmed. Era closed her eyes for a moment. Humanity had never told the galaxy everything. Not because of fear, because of history. Humans planned for storms, even on sunny days. They trained for failure, even while celebrating success. Jiho watched as civilian traffic was quietly rerouted. No alarms, no announcements. Just gentle changes in scheduling. He guided a cargo shuttle away from its usual path without the pilot ever knowing why. Above Earth, the planet began to look different, though only to those who knew where to look. Shadows shifted. Energy readings smoothed into unnatural calm. The hostile fleet slowed as it entered the outer system. That alone surprised the council. "Why are they hesitating?" one member asked. A reptilian strategist leaned forward. "They are scanning. They do not understand what they see." The council watched as probes launched from the fleet and vanished one by one. Not destroyed, not detected, simply gone. Unease spread. On Earth, Ahion sat in a small room with no windows. Screens surrounded him, each showing streams of probability models. He was a strategist, trained not for war, but for survival. His team did not cheer. They adjusted. Una stood beside him, hands moving across a console. "Power levels stable," she said. "Civilian impact remains 0. Good," Ahion replied. "Keep it that way." A first public sign that something was wrong came when the stars seemed to flicker. Social feeds filled with confused messages. Scientists blamed atmospheric effects. Most people accepted it. The hostile fleet crossed the final warning line. In the council chamber, alarms finally sounded. Emergency protocols activated. Votes were called. Pleas were drafted. It was too late for that. A single message left Earth. It was not a threat. It was not a plea. It was a statement of presence. The hostile fleet reacted instantly. Weapons charged. Energy readings spiked. On Earth. Era watched the data climb and felt her hands tighten. Jiho stood straight at his station, eyes steady. Daehyun gave one short command: engage passive defense. Space around. Earth changed. The first strike hit an invisible wall and bent away. Its force spread and swallowed. The second strike never reached its target. The third turned back toward empty space. The council could only watch. The planet they had already judged lost did not scream. It did not burn. It endured. And for the first time, the galaxy began to understand that Earth had never been waiting to be saved. Silence spread across the Galactic Council chamber after the first failed strike. Many members had expected fire and panic from Earth. Instead, they saw calm lights and steady readings. The planet did not answer with weapons. It simply remained. Analysts rushed to their stations. Screens filled with data that made little sense. Energy levels around Earth were high, but not wild. Movement was precise, controlled, almost careful. One counselor whispered that this was impossible. Another demanded a deeper scan. Orders were sent, then canceled, then sent again. The hostile fleet did not share the council's confusion. Its commanders believed in strength and fear. They increased power and prepared a full assault. On Earth, people still went to work. Children still slept. The sky remained dark and quiet. Chi-Ho guided the last civilian ship into a safe orbital lane. His voice stayed calm as he spoke to the pilot. When the channel closed, he allowed himself one slow breath. Around him, other operators worked without panic. They trusted the systems. They trusted the plan. Era sat in a secure control room, far from the observatory. Large displays showed layers of space around Earth, like invisible shells. Each layer reacted as probes and signals touched it. She watched as one layer shifted shape, bending pressure away from the planet. Another layer absorbed energy and turned it into harmless heat. Humans had learned long ago that walls break. Systems that move survive. A message reached her screen. Enemy fleet charging main weapons. Era sent a single word in reply. Understood. Deep underground. Daehyun watched probability lines change color. Some paths ended in darkness. Others bent toward survival. He focused on those. Una adjusted a power grid that spanned continents. It did not look like a weapon. It looked like normal infrastructure. That was the point. If it looks normal, it is harder to destroy. Above Earth. The hostile fleet fired again. This time, the attack came in waves. Energy beams, kinetic strikes, gravitational pressure meant to tear a planet apart. None of it worked the way the attackers expected. Beams curved. Projectiles slowed, then stopped, then drifted away like lost debris. Gravitational forces meant equal pressure and dissolved the attackers' pause in the council chamber. Shock turned into fear. A senior member stood and spoke loudly. Earth is manipulating space itself, another replied in disbelief. That level of control takes thousands of years. A third answered quietly. Or a species that never assumed it would be protected. The hostile fleet launched boarding craft, aiming to overwhelm Earth through numbers. They never reached the atmosphere. Small human drones rose to meet them. They were simple machines, quiet and fast. They did not chase. They redirected. Boarding craft found their paths altered, their navigation confused. One by one, they were forced into safe but empty holding zones far from Earth. No explosions. No debris fields. Just capture. On the ground, news feeds began to change tone. Scientists spoke with careful words. Governments issued calm statements. Emergency services stayed silent. People sensed danger but saw no proof of it. That was by design. Ho watched as the sky traffic map filled with shapes that should not be there. Enemy icons blinked, then locked in place. Human control over space extended farther than most had imagined. Era noticed something else. The enemy fleet was adjusting tactics faster than expected. They were learning. She frowned. Learning enemies are dangerous. She opened a channel to Hyon. They are adapting quicker than projected. Hyon nodded once. Then we show them something new. The next human response was not defensive. Earth's satellites shifted into a precise formation. For a moment, they looked like a loose ring of lights. Then they acted together. A controlled pulse spread outward. It did not damage ships. It damaged certainty. Enemy sensors flooded with false readings. Distances warped. Signals echoed where nothing existed. Command links failed. The hostile fleet began firing at shadows. In the council chamber. Someone shouted for a ceasefire request. Another demanded the council intervene. A legal advisor spoke with a shaking voice. Earth has not violated any treaty. They have not fired upon civilian targets. They are defending their world. The council had no answer to that on Earth. Era felt tension rise. Defense was holding, but strain increased with every second. Systems fed on stored energy. Calculations grew heavier. Jiho watched as one enemy ship broke formation and drifted too close. For the first time, alarms sounded softly in his station. Hyon saw the same risk. He did not hesitate. Engage limited response. A single human vessel revealed itself near the moon. It was small compared to the enemy ships. Its surface was plain. No weapons were visible. The hostile ship fired first. The human vessel did not dodge. The attack struck its shield and vanished. Then the human ship acted. It sent a focused, gravitational push. The hostile ship twisted, systems failing, hull bending. It did not explode. It went dark. The message was clear. We can reach you. Across the fleet, hesitation spread. The council chamber fell into complete silence. One counselor recorded a note for the archives. Humanity is not fighting for glory. They are fighting to remain. On Earth, Era finally allowed herself to sit. Jiho rested his hands on the console. Yuna exhaled slowly. The enemy fleet remained in orbit. Wounded and confused. Earth still stood, and the galaxy was beginning to realize that this was only the beginning. The hostile fleet no longer moved as one. Some ships drifted. Others rotated slowly, weapons half-charged, unsure where to aim. Their commanders argued across broken channels, trying to understand how a single planet had stopped them without open war. In the Galactic Council chamber, fear replaced disbelief. Members who once spoke casually now stood close to their screens. Records were pulled from deep archives. Old encounters. Old rumors. Any hint that humanity had shown this level of strength before, they found very little. Earth had hidden well. On the planet below, the strain of defense pressed against every system. Power flowed in controlled rivers across continents. Data moved faster than speech. Human networks adjusted thousands of times each second. Hera stood again, eyes fixed on layered maps of space. Small changes worried her more than large ones. One enemy group had stopped firing. Another had begun pulling back. Retreat can be dangerous, she said quietly. Daihan agreed. A cornered enemy fights harder. A fleeing one looks for leverage. Ji-ho noticed something strange in the orbital lanes. A cluster of enemy signals was breaking off, not away from Earth, but toward the far side of the moon. He flagged it instantly. They are trying to hide behind the moon, he said. Hera's jaw tightened. Or they are trying to use it. The possibility spread through command systems. If the enemy damaged the moon, Earth would suffer long-term effects. Tides, stability, orbit, life itself. Daihan did not raise his voice. Prepare counter-positioning. Do not escalate. Human defense shifted again. Satellites adjusted. Deep space platforms activated long silent thrusters. Everything moved with care. The enemy ships reached the moon's shadow and turned. They fired. The attack was not aimed at Earth. It was aimed at the moon's surface. In the council chamber, cries rose. The moon was a shared object under multiple treaties. This was an open violation. On Earth, alarms finally reached civilian systems. Not loud, not panicked. Just enough to warn. Hera felt anger burn behind her calm. Humanity had accepted many risks. This was not one of them. She sent one clear signal to Daihan. He did not hesitate. Authorize active defense. For the first time, Earth struck first. From hidden platforms beyond the moon, human constructs revealed themselves. They were not ships in the traditional sense. They were frameworks of energy and mass, built to hold position and shape space. They activated together. The enemy attack never touched the moon. Space itself folded. The energy meant to scar the surface bent inward and collapsed. A shockwave rippled back toward the attackers. 3 hostile ships lost control at once. One shattered. The others spun into darkness. Silence followed. Across the hostile fleet, fear spread openly. Commanders issued conflicting orders. Some ships powered down weapons. Others charged recklessly. Human systems tracked all of it. Ji-ho watched enemy paths scatter. He guided defensive zones wider, smoother, keeping danger far from civilian orbit. Hera monitored feedback from the space frameworks. Power drain was heavy, but stable. Earth could hold this line. In the council chamber, a senior member spoke with a low voice. We misjudged them, another replied bitterly. We did not judge them at all. The hostile fleet tried one final tactic. They broadcast a message. It was sent on every known channel. Visual, audio, symbolic language. The message showed destruction. Burning worlds. Broken cities. It promised the same fate to Earth, unless humans surrendered control of their systems. On Earth, the message reached screens before it could be blocked. People saw it, for a moment. The planet held its breath. And something unexpected happened. There was no mass panic. People shared the message. Not with fear, but with anger and resolve. Emergency workers stayed at their posts. Engineers stayed awake. Ordinary citizens donated power, data, and resources as systems requested them. Humanity responded as one body. Hera watched public Network strength rise instead of fall. She felt something tighten in her chest. "That they trust us," she whispered. Hyan nodded. "Then we do not fail them." Earth replied to the hostile fleet. The response was short. "Earth is not alone. Leave." The message carried no threat. It did not need one. The hostile fleet hesitated. In that pause, human defense intelligence learned everything it needed. Patterns, weak points, command delays. A controlled strike followed. Human systems targeted engines, not crews. Mobility vanished across half the fleet. Ships froze in space, alive but helpless. The remaining attackers turned away. They fled. The council chamber erupted into noise. Some shouted in relief, others in fear of what this meant. A motion passed without debate. Humanity's status would be reviewed immediately. On Earth, Era finally allowed herself to breathe deeply. Jiho leaned back, exhaustion heavy in his shoulders. Yuna rested her head against a cool metal wall. Hyan watched the retreating fleet until the last signal faded. This was not victory. He knew this was a message. Humanity would not be erased quietly, and the galaxy would never see Earth the same way again. The retreating fleet left behind a quiet that felt heavier than battle. Space around Earth slowly returned to its normal shape, though the change was so smooth that most people never noticed. Defense systems did not shut down. They relaxed, like a clenched hand opening only partway. In the Galactic Council chamber, the noise did not fade. Emergency sessions overlapped. Translators struggled to keep up. Old rules were pulled apart and read again under harsh light. A counselor with silver markings spoke with shaking control. Earth forced a hostile fleet to retreat without destroying it. "That has never happened." Another replied. "It has happened. Just never to us." The word fear was not spoken, but it moved through the chamber all the same. On Earth, leaders addressed the public with calm voices. They did not lie. They did not tell the full truth either. They spoke of a threat that had passed and of systems that had protected the planet as designed. Most people accepted this. Some asked questions. A few understood that something larger had occurred. Ira stood alone in the control room, watching systems settle into long-term balance. She felt the ache of hours without rest. Still, her eyes stayed sharp. "We held," she said softly. Hyan stood nearby, hands folded behind his back. "Holding is not enough anymore." She looked at him. "You think they will come back?" "They always do," he replied. "Or someone worse will come." Instead, Chi-Ho finished his shift as the sun rose over the ocean. He watched the light touch Earth's curve from orbit and felt a strange mix of pride and fear. The sky looked the same as it always had. That made everything feel unreal. He sent a message to his family. "Just checking in. Love you." On the far edge of the system, fragments of the hostile fleet regrouped. Their leaders argued in bitter tones. They had expected screams and surrender. They had found resistance that felt endless. One commander stared at a dark display. "Humans built their world like a trap." Another answered, "No." Like a shelter. Back in the council chamber, a decision formed. A delegation would be sent to Earth. Not to threaten. Not to command. To understand. The vote passed in uneasy silence. When the message reached Earth, it went first to Hyan's network. He read it twice before forwarding it upward. "They want to talk," Era said. He nodded. "Talking means they are afraid to act." Preparations began at once. Not military ones. Diplomatic ones. Earth chose a meeting place that was open, calm, and deeply human. A coastal city. Clear skies. Water and wind. Human defenses remained active, hidden beneath the surface. The council delegation arrived days later. Their ship was large but cautious. It followed every guideline Earth provided. Era watched from a distance as the vessel landed. Its hull reflected sunlight in unfamiliar colors. Ji-ho was assigned to guide the landing sequence. His voice stayed steady as he spoke to beings who had once expected his world to burn. "Welcome to Earth," he said. The delegation emerged slowly. Their movements were careful. Their eyes watched everything. Dae-Hyan greeted them with a slight bow. "You are safe here," he said, "as long as you respect our world." The words were simple. The meaning was not. Talks began inside a wide hall filled with natural light. There were no weapons on display. No threats spoken. The council representatives asked many questions. How had Earth developed such defense without detection? Why humanity had never revealed it? What Earth wanted now. Era answered some. Dae-Hyan answered others. "We prepared because history taught us to," Era said. "We did not reveal it because power invites fear," a counselor replied quietly. "You have created fear anyway." Dae-Hyan met the gaze without anger. Fear is better than contempt. Outside the hall, people watched from a distance. Some waved. Some stood silent. No one threw stones. Inside, the truth settled. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was careful. The delegation requested access to historical records. Earth agreed, with limits. They showed disasters survived. Wars endured. Rebuilding done again and again. They did not show everything. The council representatives grew quieter as hours passed. One finally spoke. "If the galaxy had known this, things would be different." Era answered. "We know." When the talks ended for the day, the delegation returned to their ship. Their expressions were no longer calm. They were thoughtful, uneasy. That night, Dae-Hyan stood overlooking the ocean. Era joined him. "The stars look the same," she said. He nodded. "But now they are looking back. Far above, defense systems adjusted for a new reality. Not invasion." Attention. In the council chamber, reports from the delegation spread quickly. Some members demanded restrictions on humanity. Others argued for alliance. One statement was recorded into the official archive. Earth must never be underestimated again. On Earth, Ji-ho watched another sunrise from orbit. He guided ships from many species now. Traffic had increased. Humanity had become visible, whether the galaxy was ready or not. The galaxy did not return to normal after the failed invasion. It slowed like a breath held too long. Trade routes shifted. Patrol fleets kept wider distances from Earth's region of space. Messages about humanity spread faster than any official report. In the Galactic Council chamber, debates turned sharp. Some members argued that Earth had become a danger. Others claimed Earth was the only reason the hostile fleet had not destroyed more worlds. One truth could not be denied. Humanity had changed the balance. Council delegation returned with final recommendations. Their voices carried less pride than before. Earth should be recognized as a sovereign protector world, one member said. Not watched. Not controlled. Another added, any attempt to limit them will only prove how little we learned. The motion passed. On Earth, the announcement reached public networks with careful wording. Humanity's status had changed. The planet was no longer seen as fragile. People reacted in small ways. Some celebrated. Some worried. Most simply went on with their lives. That was what made humans dangerous. Many in the galaxy would later realize. They did not need constant triumph. Era returned to the mountain observatory weeks later. The systems were quiet now, running in low watch mode. She looked up at the stars with a new awareness. Somewhere out there, civilizations were adjusting their plans because of Earth. She felt no pride in that. Only responsibility. Ji-ho continued his work in orbit. The traffic lanes were busier than ever. Ships from many species requested human guidance near Earth space. They trusted human systems more than their own. Sometimes, Ji-ho wondered when that trust might turn into fear. Dae-hyun watched the long-term projections shift. Threat lines moved farther out. New alliance paths formed. Humanity was no longer alone, but it was no longer ignored either. That position was dangerous. He pushed for restraint. Strong defenses remained, but no expansion. No threats. No display of power without cause. Earth would not rule the galaxy. Earth would survive it. The hostile fleet that had fled was never rebuilt in the same way. Its survivors carried stories of a world that bent space and refused to break. Other warlords listened and chose easier targets. Some did not. Years later, when another distant system called for help, the Council hesitated. Then they looked toward Earth. The request arrived quietly. Era read it in silence. Ji-ho saw it flagged in orbital priority channels. Dae-hyun reviewed it with tired eyes. A world under attack. A fleet too strong. Time running out. The Council waited. Earth answered. Human ships did not arrive with banners or threats. They arrived early. They positioned defenses. They moved civilians to safety. They spoke calmly to frightened voices. The enemy withdrew without a fight. After that, the pattern repeated. Earth did not conquer. Earth intervened. A Council's archives filled with new language. Humanity was listed not as a power, but as a stabilizing force. Back on Earth, life remained ordinary. Children studied. Artists created. Engineers improved systems that no one outside defense circles ever saw. That was how humans preferred it. One evening, Era stood on a balcony overlooking a city full of light. Dae-hyun joined her. Do you ever wish we had stayed quiet? She asked. He thought for a long moment. Quiet only works until someone decides to shout. Above them. The sky was peaceful. In the Galactic Council chamber, a final record was sealed. It summarized the invasion, the failure, and the aftermath. The closing line was written with care. Earth was never weak. It was patient. The galaxy had attacked a shelter, not a target, and it would never make that mistake again.